let's have a bit of a good news moment, shall we, on BBC Radio Nottingham, the tale of Henry the three-legged cat, who's also deaf, by the way. He went missing from his home in Nottingham 5 months ago, but there is a happy end to the story. He's been reunited with his owner, and I asked his owner, Steve Blair Allwright from Woolerton, whether Henry was quite an adventurous cat normally.
No, to be honest, he's always a cat who's stayed near home. He likes to go walk about occasionally, but it's only around the neighbours' gardens. So on the evening he went missing, we were quite surprised. It was quite a hot evening back in July, and he went out at about 7:30, just didn't come back. At first we weren't too worried, we just assumed he'd got trapped in someone's shed or locked in someone's garage, because it was a sort of warm evening, people leave doors open. So we thought he'd turn up. Even when it went on a couple of weeks, we'd been in the holiday season, we were hoping he'd be trapped in someone's house. We sort of dropped flyers off to all our neighbours, put posters up in the local area, but as time went on, we started to give up hope, to be honest.
Yes, obviously a very distinctive cat with three legs. Does he get about all right on those three?
Absolutely, yes. He's like lightning once he gets better.
Right.
They do say that a cat's actually a three-legged animal with a spare, so it doesn't actually cause too many problems. Once he gets running, you won't even notice he's got a missing leg.
Wow.
In fact, we did have a couple of people on who reported that it might be him, but they weren't too sure. They weren't sure whether the cat they'd seen had 4 or 3 legs, which was a bit surprising to us.
And no point going out calling his name, because
absolutely,
he's deaf.
We still did it, but
Really?
He was completely deaf, so absolute waste of time, and that's why we think he went missing.
Okay.
He jumped in someone's car and he just didn't hear them coming up and shutting the boot.
So this was back in July. He goes missing. At what point did you think, that's it, we'll never see our little Henry again?
Well, probably after about 6 weeks. We didn't really say anything to each other, but we were starting to give up hope and probably accept he wasn't coming back. He's had a few injuries and illnesses in his life. We didn't think he's always been pretty tough, but we didn't think he'd cope that well on his own, living rough probably. So
now, the story you tell chimes with many a cat owner whose cat has gone missing, and, sad to say, many cats don't return. How did you sort out getting Henry back? I mean, how did you find him? Because he was miles and miles and miles away.
Well, absolutely. When he first went missing, after a couple of weeks, we registered him with a company called Animal Search UK. Basically, they supplied us with posters and flyers, but also they had an internet site where people sort of could post their missing pets, and he was registered on this. Now, what happened was a family in Mackworth in Derby noticed him in the fields opposite their house, and they saw him coming across to their neighbours and eating bread off their garden, which they put out for the birds. Now, they obviously realised, he was living rough and started to feed him. They had 4 cats, so they couldn't really let him in their house. He wasn't too keen to go in with their cats, and their cats were probably not too keen for him to go into the house. So they made him a bed out of lamb's wool, and he started living under a gazebo, and they were feeding him. But obviously, when it got a bit colder, they started to get a bit worried, and they handed him in to the Cat Protection League, and he ended up at the Cat Protection Adoption Centre in Derby.
And thus, with your posting of details on the internet and them accessing it, suddenly the connection was made.
Someone who works for them spotted him on the site, and they phoned up Animal Search, and they phoned and left me a message.
And then but how does that feel? We think we've found your cat. He's in Mackworth in Derby. You're going to go, well, it can't be our cat.
Yeah, I didn't want to build up my hopes. I didn't tell my wife. They phoned on a Tuesday night 2 weeks ago, left a message, and I couldn't speak to the adoption centre until the morning because they were shut. To be honest, I kept it to myself, but I wasn't that hopeful. I thought it would be a false alert, to be honest. After all this time, I just thought it was impossible. Even after I spoke to them the next day, they confirmed he was deaf, had 3 legs, and he had a couple of teeth missing, which matched Henry's description. I still found it difficult to believe. So it was quite amazing when I got there, and it was him.
And how was Henry after the ordeal?
Well, he's absolutely fine. He's been to the vets. He's got no problems whatsoever. He remembered us all. He was pleased to see me. He's got 2 brothers, same age, same litter. When we brought him home, they were pleased to see him. They'd been since he's been home, and they all sleep together. So, yeah, it's fantastic news, and they're really happy to see him.
I bet, yeah. Well, it's a great story, and I'm pleased it's got a happy ending.
Thank you.
Will the cat Santa be bringing anything special for,
oh, yes.
for Henry this year?
Cat Santa,
sort of,
my wife's been shopping for him, all right, and he's got a few treats for him at Christmas, and a big chicken as well.
Let's hope he doesn't go a-wandering ever again.
I don't think he will. I think he's probably learnt his lesson now, hopefully, touch wood.
So, a story with a lovely happy ending. Henry the cat back home with Steve and his wife in Woollerton after an unscheduled trip to Derby in the summer.
A passion for Nottinghamshire life. Nottinghamshire life.
BBC Radio Nottingham.